still just live?
Absolutely live. We're always live.
You're always live and kicking.
Nothing like sorting out our technology on the fly, just making sure. But Michael, you look beautiful.
Thanks very much. I was just checking there.
You know there's two of us here. Eh?
Yeah, no, I know. Just look at him.
It's okay, I'm still waiting.
No. Sorry, Johnny, you look absolutely gorgeous today.
Honestly, like
I love your dress style. That coat.
Look at that. What do you want? But you're looking sharp as well.
No, thank
That's
you.
better. So we're actually, this is a 53rd episode.
But it says episode 1 on our clipper.
Yeah, so we'll change that.
Where's the button for that
We
one?
need to find a button.
53 episodes.
Do you guys remember when we did it the first time around? Those first couple of episodes.
They were
Shockers.
53. That's the same age as you, Michael.
Oh, bless your heart.
You do not look like a 53-year-old.
Thanks, John.
Definitely.
More like a
definitely.
56-year-old.
I worked really hard at it.
Do you know what? Generally, there's sometimes people think he's younger than me.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
That's just mentally.
Age is just a number. What did they say? 50 is the new 30 or something like that.
Someone did say that the weekend. I'm like, okay, whatever.
But I mean, 53 episodes in, milestone. We've been doing this for a year. If we had to have a little bit of reflection, do you remember when we did those first 4, 5, 6? How nervous we were, how many takes every episode took us to get it out there. And I suppose the lesson we learned is it doesn't have to be perfect, just get it out there.
Correct.
But that took us, I think that took us 12 or 13 episodes to learn that lesson.
We'd still be episode 1 if we hadn't just got it out there.
Yeah.
Oh. But see, even when you listen to it back, there is still a cringe factor.
Oh, yeah.
When you listen to yourself back. I think that goes along with
Still,
everybody.
I definitely think so. I think everybody has got that thing. They don't like the sound of their own voice because you don't hear it back.
Well,
Just
especially
sounds
when he's
different
left
in
got
your
a robot voice as well.
And then we've also had some phenomenal tech failures. Do you remember when we recorded a whole episode 2 hours?
Nah, I don't remember that.
But like the volume or the recording of
that
it.
was funny.
Dope. But even just the tech things with the whistle in the background and things like that. Because when you're listening back or you've got people listening to it, they go, oh, there's a problem here. You're like, damn.
It's natural progression, no. The thing is, I've not stood still.
No. We've evolved. We've learned through it. We now have a pre-production check, except for today. We have pre-production check.
So who
Michael.
knows what's going to happen.
I feel the weight of the world is on Michael's shoulders for this podcast.
That's every podcast.
No.
So, weekend then, we were supposed to have Aunt
Well,
Milton in. But
Just before that, so 53 episodes. And I think that's a milestone worth recognizing. But I also think if we look at sort of the common trends and themes that our episodes, I know we had Melanie on last week about menopause in the workplace.
Yep.
And I think that for our listeners, it's maybe good to also look at more conversations like that, or conversations down that line.
definitely been a lot of good feedback from it.
Yeah, so I think it's something that's probably neglected in the workplace, because if you're a business owner, it's a lonely place. Who do you go to? Who do you go to for the ugly, dirty truth, like we normally say? Who do you offload to? And what's your emotional well-being? Because if you're not well, your business won't be well.
But this is a nice segue into the weekend. Obviously, being at Edinburgh, Usher Hall, Ant Middleton, all his team, Carol Froch, all these guys, and the podcast is obviously coming very, very soon with him. He's a very, very busy man. But that echoes down to the whole leadership and the impact of culture and knowing who you are and what you're going through and how do you navigate yourself around day-to-day life with your ailments, with your restrictions. But a lot of the restrictions can be mindset. I would like to think, and Cuddy said this, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. You know, you could have one hand, but you've still got an opportunity to be able to do things.
So
You're in a wheelchair, but you can still do things. And I'm not decrying people in that situation. But
no.
It's amazing the people, amputees, but they're like, they're just a positive person. They're looking at the positive every time.
So I'm going to tell you two stories, because you know how much I like stories. And this one might be, if you know the guy, there's a guy called Tyler Perry. He's an American film producer, he's an African-American film producer, movie star, lots of money. And he tells a story. He tells two African-American kids, get born to mothers that are both prostitutes and fathers that are both into gangs and drugs. Okay. And they each have a son, these two couples. One son rises above his circumstances, situation. The other one joins his father in jail. Why does this happen? And it's a pertinent conversation because in America, race is a big thing. Because when you look at the prison populations, it's full of Latin Americans and African American people. And it's a really, really interesting conversation. And when you start diving deep, and it's actually his life story, because that's how he was born. And he's risen above his circumstances. So is that a choice that you make? That at some point you go, even though I've been dealt a rough hand, I make that choice to step above it. And can everybody do it? I suppose that's my question. Can everybody rise above their circumstances?
100. Everybody can rise above it, but there has to be a significant part that's happened in your life, a moment in life, because everybody chooses if they want the hard road or the easy road. Now, yes, we all want an easy road, but you can't get the fruits of your labour on an easy road. You've got to put the effort in. And if I was to say a story based on what I know, which is my experience, having both parents separated at a younger age, both great parents, but there was moments in my life that I witnessed things, how poor my mum was, sleeping on the floor, and all other things that happened. But these were impacts on me that gave me an inner drive. And then I've met some incredible people. I was really fortunate to meet some motivational people when I went on a sales course. And some people, when I was explaining the story to them, they went, "Oh, but that's just salesy." Yes, it is to a point, but you have no idea how that person actually made me feel. I actually cried when I got home. When I was thinking about it, like, I was so overwhelmed by how much time he spent with me. And that this is what I'm saying about people that can, but they don't want to. And there's people that can and they want to and they'll put the effort in. But you only need a few people around you that'll just boost you or say something, or you've witnessed something that'll drive you on. And that might be the story for the two people. They just decided, no, I don't want this. I'm better than this. I want something more. And then you're going, I'm going to have to try and seek and find how I do this.
Is hard work always a key to success?
Not always. Like, it's not always. Definitely you need it, but you need to make some sensible choices.
So this is for later on in the story, later on in the episode, setting it up. Are people that work hard, do they become successful? Are the hardest workers successful people?
To an extent, I would say.
Give me a percentage. I'm going to put you both on the spot here.
Hard work.
I would say, well, I'll just go back to the 80-20.
Okay.
I'm going to go, I think I'll go 73%.
So 80% hard work, 20% natural talent. So if you work hard 80%, you are bound to reap the rewards of your hard work.
What's the old saying? Hard work.
So my question is, does hard work equal success? So if you work hard 80% of the time, will you be successful?
I think you will. I think there's an element of it. But again, you just need to make some sensible decisions along the way. Because you could be working hard.
So if you work, if you work hard for the bank, you give them your all.
No.
So this is an employee.
Yeah. So even a business owner, employee, doesn't matter.
Different factors. There's different key metrics in it. You can work hard, but you're just going around in circles. You can work smart. That's a bit better than working hard. You have to have working ethic. But you've also got to work smart, and you've also got to have a really good understanding of communication, so you're noticed and you're heard for your hard work and your drive.
So how do you get noticed?
So that's about being gregarious. So a fancy word, gregarious. I remember my school teacher.
That is a big word.
I know, tell me about it. I was in third year at school, and my English teacher, Mr. Dawson, says, "You're very gregarious." And I looked at him and I went, "Is he taking the piss out of me?" I don't know what that means. I went, I don't know if that, because I used to always target my fears. I don't know if that's something bad or good, Mr. Dawson. Can you explain that? I went, "It means you're very outgoing, Johnny." I went, "Well, thanks very much." And You see it on networking events you go to, like even at the weekend when we were out, how outgoing some people are and how some people are closed. And I know the people that are closed, they might still be successful in their own right, but they're maybe a little bit more introverted, reserved, maybe lacking some confidence. But it's about putting yourself out there within reason. Now, sometimes I overshoot that line. Okay, I know that.
That's the 80-20 rule again.
That's the 80-20 rule.
But then it's about being aware to come back from it and go, right, just fix that. Fix it. But I think the key performance indicators, or what you want to call them, is a whole plethora of things.
Yeah.
But it's all coming from a good position of what you're trying to achieve. It's got to be good. It's got to be compassion. It's got to be empathy. But it's got to be drive. It's got to be hunger. All of these things. That's what makes somebody successful.
So, back to you, Wicus. So what's the answer then that you have?
The answer will come later. The answer will reveal itself
I'm going to
later.
write it down so don't forget.
In the story, absolutely write it down earlier in the story, because it does remind me of a story about Simon Sinek. And for those of you who watch or read his books, he tells a story about he finishes quite early and he goes to 2 different coffee shops and he asks the one guy, "Do you like working here?" He goes, "That's a job." He goes, "What do you like about your job?" He goes, "I get to meet people." Very non-engaging. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to another coffee shop and he goes, "Do you like working here?" And go, "Guys, absolutely love working here. Absolutely love working here." He goes, "Because firstly, I'm recognized. So my managers come to me and go, 'Great cappuccino. Is there anything we can do to help you?' Same job. 2 people doing the same things. Hence my question. Does hard work equal success?" Because the other guy could be a fantastic barista turning out 100 coffees, but he's disengaged. And often in business, that's what's happened. And again, setting you up late in the story, it'll become evident why I tell you these stories.
Cannot wait.
It's so true. Well, here you go then. So you've been on your holidays. Come on, you've got to share some stories about people that are driven, people that have went above
and beyond. So it's interesting when you go when you go away on holiday. For me, I disengage from all technology. So I take my iPad with me. So if something really serious would happen, I don't know why, because I don't even check it. So it's probably a futile exercise, but my phone stays in the safe. So you can't reach me. I'm completely disconnected from technology, for 7 days. Okay. And it is to it's just to reset your mind and everything. But I'm going to share 2 stories with you that's really, really interesting that shows you what it means. So we stay in this hotel, very nice hotel, and we're sitting at breakfast one morning, and one of the tables next to us, they call over the duty manager and they go, "Sorry to be a pain, but the bacon is cold."
The bacon's cold.
Bacon's cold. It's in the buffet. Okay, bacon's not going to be hot all the time. I'm not exaggerating. 1 minute later, a manager pulls out. He comes, he sits them down. He says, "No, we're not going to do this here." He takes them to a private table. He sits and he chats to them. And they come back, they join their table. And of course, my wife, we get chatting to them. She goes, "What's this about?" They go, "The managers just explained to us why the bacon could be cold. They're going to give us hot new bacon. But to compensate us for inconvenience, they're going to give us a day bed with food and lunch and everything." That's over cold bacon. Inconsequential in the right of things.
So let me guess, did you put your hand up and say, "I've got cold bacon as well"?
No. So I have something, my kids will tell you that I have something on, it's called the Breakfast of Champions. The Breakfast of Champions is crispy bacon. So I get them to make me crispy bacon. And then either waffles or something with copious amounts of chocolate on it. That's a Breakfast of Champions. I had that every day of the week. So Breakfast of Champions, it sustains me. But then the other side of the coin is I arrive at Edinburgh 2:00 in the morning, get through passport control. It's another half an hour dilemma. Pick up my luggage that's now been damaged. It's another half an hour. So I park in Fastpark because I want to have access to my car and I want to leave. Only to get there, my car's not there. Nobody can tell me where my car is. So I'm like, okay, what happens? And I watch this situation unfold in front of me. Okay. And everybody is coming in at the manager on duty and they all agitated and everybody's angry because their car's on there. And in the greater scheme of things, it's not rocket science. I drop my car off on a Saturday. I pick it up on a Saturday. Surely you've got 7 days to plan for it. But I learned 2 things. I learned that Edinburgh Airport has got a blame culture because the staff blames the managers. the people blame it on not having enough people, but nobody actually addresses the problem and fixes the situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody took responsibility. So I think the situation could have been easily avoided and de-escalated if somebody had just taken charge. And instead of blaming management, let management give you a set of tools to manage the situation, because these things could happen. Okay.
Yeah.
But nobody communicated. Nobody was forthcoming in communication. They'll tell you that, oh, we've got 800 cars, your car's somewhere on the lot. That doesn't help me. 2 hours later, you get your car. You've left a bad experience. And yeah, if they refund you the money that you paid, that's a hollow victory to me, because they're not addressing the problem. They're putting a Band-Aid over a symptom. So looking at two things like that, when you go on holiday, it's all about the experiences. It's the little things they do. And I think big organizations, that just becomes the norm. They need to press a reset button there. They need to press a big reset button.
Bigger companies, how they change CEOs, because they know, well, if it's not going right, they're at the top, so they're going to get blamed for it, because they are, in theory, in charge of the managers managing the other people. So that's why they end up getting, they leave the company. But it is that whole, we talk about this all the time, this culture running through businesses, this recognition for people as well, managing people the right way and setting a standard. You would never go to the Savoy and have that experience, or you should not, because there's a standard,
An expectation.
an expectation. But there's also people out there going, that's the Savoy, I want to work there, because I know that's a top place. It's like a Michelin star restaurant compared to maybe work at the Travel Lodge, but there's still got to be in the airs and graces and be pleasant. And any hospitality sector, and it's a good grounding for anyone working in the hospitality sector, it's a hard graft. It's really hard graft. But just as the incremental changes that you make, when you see people, and it's all about the feeling.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about that all the time. It's no hard. You see somebody that's really disappointed and really unhappy, went, can you give me 5 minutes? I want to understand this, and I want to figure this out for you to make sure we turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
That's where if you've got, obviously there's a lot of staff involved in Edinburgh Airport, but with the parking side, if they've got a dilution of new staff coming in and the onboarding process isn't great, they're missing some simple kind of actions they could be taking to avoid things. So they're not engaged as much as they should. It's just a job. They just got to turn up and do what they need to do to get through that day.
Yeah.
And so you've got an issue like that. Nobody's going to take charge of it, because.
But where do you think that stems from?
Well, it's definitely from the top.
A fish rots from the head down. And don't tell me anything different. The fish rots from the head down. I'm not saying that they're bad. If it was me in charge, the first thing I would have done, I would have given my managers authorization, or I would have given them leeway. First thing I would have done, I would say, listen, guys, we have got an issue. But what I'm going to do is go to Costa Coffee, give you a vehicle registration number. Okay? Coffee's on us, as much as you want. And then I would sit the people down and say, listen, what's your vehicle registration number? I'd make a list and I'll keep them updated. It's about communication, saying, these are the vehicles coming up, these are the vehicles coming down. We apologize, but keep communication going. Don't wait for the people to go to you. Something so simple. Instead of blaming my managers, I would empower my people, because eventually after 2 hours, I walk around to the side because I see there's a side window. So I say to the guy, could you just tell me if my car's on the ramp, where it is? He goes, what you want me to do? Short-staffed and very rude. And I'm like, cool, no problem. I understand that you're under pressure. You've probably had people screaming at you the whole day.
So this is where hiring the right people and asking the right questions and putting certain situations across the table to them. What would you do in the event of this? Because you are actually, why do you make great leaders, or why do you make great managers? Because you can see the potential in them. Check-ins, check in with people, but you have to have a standard. You have to have a standard and give your team the tools in which to navigate around difficulties that happen. And no, that is a difficulty for people.
Yeah.
Were they responsible for the person before them, the shift before them, it never turned up and never did it? No. But when they go in there, they've got to try and find a solution, or the manager needs to be there and find a solution for that.
Yeah, so I think as a customer, don't make your problems mine. I'm a customer. Don't make a mine.
Exactly.
I will say this to you. When we were in Greece, my wife was all about experiences. So we wanted to do an experience, and everybody's got something to sell. And I'm always just curious to see how they approach it. Okay, so the first guy comes, he says, you want to go on this boat trip? And then he does the little things and he does them really well because I'm watching. Okay, he goes, no, come on to the boat. Okay, number one. So now I already know this boat is number one in her book because he's taken her on the boat. He's showing her the facilities. Okay, the second one that she walks along the line that goes, no, we're number one in TripAdvisor. But they've learned from the first one. They go, come along the boat. So you can see they only take X amount of people. And they go, we're pre-season. So if you're lucky, there's going to be 9 families. It's going to be quiet. You're going to have. And so everybody down that strip has got a different sales thing. But the further you get along, the worse it becomes. They go, yeah, you want? This is, and I think that this is your livelihood in tourist season, which is sort of from April to September. They need to make as much money as they can because in the winter months, tourism dries up there. Mm-hmm. So how do you make enough money to sustain it? But it was interesting, the boat we went on eventually. So I go to the guy, how are you doing this morning? He goes, I'm a little hungover this morning, but thank you for asking. So I go, hope you're not piloting the boat. He goes, don't worry, we've got a fully trained captain to do that. I'm like, that's good. But just that interaction with the people and making it's an experience. Work should be an experience. Anything you do should be an experience. And it should be, there's a big thing at the moment about leaders and leadership and what is leadership. And if you really had to look at what is leadership is just to create an environment for people to make decisions, but to be held accountable for those decisions, to empower them to make those decisions, empower them to make the mistakes, because how else would they learn?
Exactly. I think it's also, you get caught up in business, and I've been guilty ourselves as you're growing, that you just become a bit stagnant, and what worked 2 years ago maybe doesn't work now, and things have evolved and technology, and plus your staff's changed, and people, even though you've got your systems in place, work a little bit different. They find their own way to do things a bit quicker and whatever. So you need to be on top of things and just revamp and just keep continually growing all the different things you've got in the systems.
I will say to you, I think it is a lot harder in business to consumer driven business environments where you're dealing with the end user. Hospitality being hard because I think people have got, it's about expectations, it's about managing that. It's about what are you putting out there? Is it consistently good? Is it consistently bad? And it's the little things. By no means was the service quick and fast in the place we want, but it was pleasant. Yeah. They acknowledged you. They go, somebody will be around with you. They kept communication going. And just little things like that. And I think it's an organization that's got 23 hotels. Their average hotel is 330 rooms. I think that's a big operation. But to have that right from top to bottom, that's rare. That is really, really rare. And I was impressed by that because I noticed the little things. And how I notice the little things is I watch how you clean a table. Okay, so my kids will tell you that because if you go clean a table, if you're a waiter and you clean the table, okay, and I've seen that there were people that were invested and people that weren't. But the people that were invested, I saw they got tips a lot more because when they clean the table, they move the salt and pepper shallots, they wipe them down, they do everything properly. The other ones, it's not, they just wipe the table, they wipe around the salt and pepper. I watched that and I think invested, not invested. Now, when you're invested in a business, your managers are watching all the time. And they say, okay, this guy's invested in the business, so I need to invest in him. And that's how you start building a good culture. First, the employee shows the initiative. Then you start rewarding the initiative. And then other employees start seeing, but why is he getting rewarded? And they start watching what he's doing. That type of thing.
This is back to the 1 in 3.
Yeah.
What's that?
What's the 1 in 3? You have to explain yourself.
The Simon Sinek.
Because not everybody will know.
Right, well, watch the previous episodes.
Can't remember the one.
No, there was 1% of the world are innovators. Like your Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, this one. Yeah. And then there's early adopters, late adopters, and there's people you don't even talk to. But the early adopters, they're the ones that you're looking for. There's only 30-odd% of them. So he broke it down, explaining they're the guys that are just invested. Like, so he made an analogy with Star Wars. Like, they're in the queue, they're waiting for it. They've got all the merchandise and they're standing in the queue a day before it goes out. They're just completely invested. And it's like the people in your business that are invested in the business. You create the path, like your 1%, your Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. You create the path. These guys just buy into it. They're the only people that you need to concentrate on your business, because late adopters, they'll see these guys. They like, it's like anybody with the hairstyles and the fashion. They just want to see people wearing it first and go, oh, okay, I'll get that. The other ones, you don't even talk to them. There's no point when looking at them. So just concentrate on the one group of people, and the other people will follow them anyway. Would you agree with that?
No.
I thought that's your analogy.
Yeah, no. You're right about early adopters is because that's how you build a good culture. Because the late adopters will eventually leave your business; they won't stay because they're not getting rewarded and they're not getting recognized. And reward and recognition is not necessarily money. Okay, I'm going to say that to you. It's just the little things that you do. But you see that. Just go around and just look. It's something that's really, really interesting to me because I look for what is a good service. So the guy that served us, he had a good sense of humor. So I go, could I have a cappuccino? He goes, maybe. Like, okay, let's roll the dice. And then the cappuccino comes, he goes, you got lucky. Like, I did. So it's a little bit of banter like that. Yeah. But when I look at him and I watch how he cleaned the table, he's the guy that wipes the salt and pepper salads. He engages with the clients. So when I watch people around him, and I'm guilty of that, I tipped him as well, because I think that is reward and recognition, because he does a hard job by no stretch of the imagination. That's hard job. Because I've seen few clients being really, really rude, especially when you they're just rude to the people serving them. Yeah. And there's absolutely no need for it. That is one of my biggest. I call them out. I call them out for it, but I do it in such a loud way. I will be either over friendly and I go, oh, but I would say it loud. I would go, that is just so rude. Loud like that, and my wife cringes. And then the waitress comes over and I go, and then I'll be very friendly to compensate. And you know what happens? The next time they come around, they use please and thank you. That to me is the basics, guys. Come on.
So this is maybe another deep dive into something that I'm really conscious about now. See, when in society and in business, if you see something that's not actually 100%,
you call it out.
You call it out. But I feel that there's a lot of people that have got a lack of backbone nowadays. When something's not right, if back to the old sayings, you say, if not you, then who? If you're not going to say it, you expecting anything to change. People need to be held more accountable, and people need to have a backbone. And as business owners, you should be the forefront of that. You see something happening, you should step up to the plate. A lot of people have these conversations, but I might end up getting injured or somebody might turn on me. Well, tough.
So, it goes back to that word integrity. Everybody wants to have integrity, okay? But injustice happens when good people stand by and do nothing. And when you see that, so when you see something wrong, rather call the restaurant owner over and say, listen, this isn't quite up to scratch. Can you fix that? Do that. Rather than jump onto social media and post a terrible 5-star review or doing something like that. It's how you conduct yourself, because that's a reflection of the kind of person that you are. So if you're going to jump onto social media and just rant and rave, what does it say about you as a person?
I know.
And there's plenty of them.
No, there's nothing contributing. If you can leave a 1-star review and you just don't leave a comment, nothing. I mean, people will see it, but they won't do anything about it. I'm always amazed because my wife reads the reviews every restaurant, every place we go to, and I go, you must remember that's an opinion.
See, when you take for the weekend Ant Middleton and all these other people in these positions, social media, people putting these hate comments up and things like that, you go, what is actually wrong with you? Like, when you read it, somebody's done something nice, a celebrity or whatever, done something nice, and it's on Facebook or Instagram or whatever you want to call it, and people are going out their way to write a big rampage of a paragraph, and it's just like, you've just highlighted how much out of 10 you're a knob. That's all it's done. It's highlighted, I'm here and I want to be a knob for a couple of minutes. Belittling the person, you go, God almighty.
It's hiding behind that, because they're not.
They're not, and I remember there was a celebrity thing where they actually found the people that were doing all these things, and I was like, it was brilliant, because they just attacked in a nice way. They just attacked and went, oh, you're this person, yeah. Why did you write that in the comments? Oh. You're like, come on, mate. You want a cuddle? You want
to be out. But, when you go on holiday, it's a good time to just reflect. And I think as business owners, we don't often take that time to just disengage from technology completely. So I disengage completely from tech. Just what I do best. You read a book, something with paper. You have to page through it. You write down some stuff. Half the stuff I can't recognize my own handwriting. That is a problem. I have to work on that, because we become so used to typing and talking and dictating. I mean, if you look at the new Google's new search, it's all on visual. You look at your iPhone now, you can take a picture of something and it'll search it for you visually.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal to see how things are moving at pace for that. So it's time to just reset the button. But you learn so much from businesses, and from businesses when you go to different places. Just look for the extraordinary, and you find it in the strangest places. Talk to the strangest people. It's all those things. When we got picked up from the airport, little trick that the guy did, gave us all a water.
Yeah, that's a nice.
It's like a nice little thing. Didn't have to. He says, here's some water for you. And then he starts engaging, he starts talking to you. Little things like that is what stands out in people's minds. As opposed to the bus driver, when we caught the bus in public transport in Greece, it works. But the bus driver wasn't the best bus driver. And then one of the locals took up, he actually started to fight with a bus driver in Greece. And then he took a picture of the license plate. So I'm thinking, is he going to report him? Is this just just little things like that? But I would say to you, there was also one final shot on our. We did another bus journey, and there were tourists on the bus, and the guy needed to know where to get off. Okay, he just wanted to know where to get off. The bus driver starts screaming at him and go absolutely crazy. That's a tourist, buddy. He pays that salary. Yeah. So maybe just invest a little bit of time just to say to the tourist, at the next stop, come to me because I'm driving at the moment, instead of going all crazy. Never. That tells me so much about the way you respond. Mm-hmm. So holiday was great. Learned a lot. Relaxed. Swam.
Sounds like it.
Swam. But it gives you a good insight, because you start looking at what are these guys doing differently. Why are they at the top of their game?
See, he's always on his work though. He's got no technology. He's watching.
I watch a lot. So
he's got his pen and paper writing all these things down. I
watch a lot. I make little notes and I'm like, that's interesting, because that I think you learn more when you see people put it into action. So I can say to you whatever, there's, let's say you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Doesn't matter what I say, okay? Unless you're going to actually do it and take action. Never do it. And that was just interesting.
Do that.
Well, talking
constantly
about
do it. Just even your dailies, I'm always watching, seeing how people do things and how well they work and what will work.
Yeah, sorry, I was on the tip of my tongue. Talking about taking action, we had Melanie on last week. That's a girl that's taking action. Mm-hmm. She's taking action. So she's been discussing menopause, mm-hmm. and all the weird and wonderful things that happen to your body. And what she's done, she's taken action. She's dived right into all the information that's out there, been very resourceful and finding out what works for her. And I think it struck a chord with quite a lot of our listeners, mm-hmm. and viewers on how important it is to realise that you're not alone. And it's also highlighting business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, managers on how to respond and how to help the situation, opposed to just turning a blind eye to it or poo-pooing the idea of menopause, because it's a massive thing in business, especially with the stats that were coming out from Melanie.
Yep.
The amount of good raw talent that are women, mm-hmm. that are actually leaving the workplace. It was something crazy like 53%, I think it was. Right. That's huge. And wow. As Melanie actually said, some of that can be extremely raw talent, and you're losing that just by maybe not sitting with them, giving them a helping hand. You were talking about a fan. Instead of, she sold it in the sense of a story, because that's what resonates with people more. So that whole thing, being in the office and always wanting the window open, but everybody else is freezing. Just get a fan, get a couple of fans. But sometimes Melanie said, but the noise is not always great for some people, and everybody's different. Sometimes you have to get that quieter noise. It's like the hand dryers that you get for kids. Yeah. You get the ones that are quiet, like Ian Stewart was talking about when he came on. So there's a whole host of things that need to be discussed about menopause. I think that one podcast is not enough.
Well, we can certainly get her back on again, I think.
But then you talk about the menopause for women, huge. There's also the mental well-being for men and women. But men, you see a lot of things out there in socials, like men not wanting to be men want to be men, or it's getting, the masculinity has been taken away from them. And we strip all of that aside and put that away. Just the person, the people, what's hurting people just now? Where's the help for them to become the best version of themselves? Like Ant was talking about, being able to get that mindset to push through. It's all up here. That small area up here in your head controls the whole body. The whole thing of what you do, how you walk, how you talk, how you act. And what discussions can we have around that?
I definitely think that life is full of adversity. Life is difficult. Make no mistake about that. But 90% of what happens to you in life, you've got no choice over. 10% in how you respond to that.
Yep.
And I've always said to my kids, whether you believe you can, whether you believe you can't, that's your reality. Okay, that is your reality. So the word can't doesn't exist in our house. It just doesn't. Because the moment you go that way, you swing more towards a glass half empty than a glass half full. And it's something that starts from an early age. Yes, it will be difficult, but not can't. Rather try and not succeed than not try at all. And I suppose that's the risk, is when it looks hard. Have you ever seen our guys ascend Mount Everest? Have you ever looked at how they climb? I think they climb to 2 base camps, and then they go down one. And then they go up again, and they go to the next one, they come down to adjust for altitude sickness. Yep. Okay? So it's hard. You have to go forward to go back. And sometimes you go back from base camp 1 back to base camp 3, and then to do that track again. Mm-hmm. But that breeds resilience in the face of adversity. But it is a choice you make. Make no mistake, I do think it's a choice you make, because life is hard. And sometimes it seems like all the cards are stacked against you, and you think you're the only one going through it. Guess what? You're not.
I heard, again from the weekend, and Aunt Middleton was talking about going into a room, and he was even saying in his show, like, he was shining himself. But to a point, but that was at the early stages, I think he was saying, but just that hand on his shoulder from his brother behind him in arms, saying, I understand that you may be having a wee... He was just he just froze. He didn't know what he was freezing for. It just happened. He couldn't move. But it was that gentle hand on his shoulder, and how he thought of that was his mate just knew, it's all right, I'm here. Yeah, I've got you. And sometimes it's a kiss, it's a touch, it's a cuddle from somebody out there. It just gives you that motivation. Sometimes it's no words.
Sometimes it's just a kind gesture, a smile.
But one of the things he did say, when he was going into knocking a wall down or a door down, if he got into that negative mindset of he's going to get shot, and he was talking about the gun, when it was firing, it was up the door, it was brilliant. He says, right, I know that's an automatic, and the way he shot that, so when he's shooting it's going to go all the way up, just because the power of the gun. So I'm just going to wait, and then I know when it's my time to kick it in, because it's gone, the bullets are gone. And he says, you've got to think that way. You've got to look at gaps. You've also got to say to yourself, are they as highly trained as me in there? So the chance of them getting a headshot is very slim. But when I get in there, I'll find a position, bang, bang, my brother behind me, my other brother behind me, bang, bang, bang. So in the mindset, you're not letting that negativity seep in. You're always fighting it with a positive and a good outcome. And you could use that analogy for everything in your life. You know,
I think that's where entrepreneurs are really good at it.
You're always finding solutions, aren't you?
You're just problem solving constantly and taking all the negative stuff that's going on, and it is like you find it might get you for a minute, but then that energy just changes into a positive. Fuck you, I'm going to get it. And that's back against the wall. You see that.
It is. You're at your best when your back is against the wall, because then you have to make difficult decisions. You actually can push through it. But often fear is probably your biggest, and fear stands for false expectations appearing real, and fear can cripple you.
And that's in the brain, like that's all your thoughts creating most of that.
That image, what's going to happen, if, buts, maybes.
Yeah. So you always see the worst case scenario, but you never see the best case scenario. And that's just, and I suppose it's you can change that. You can change the way your brain is wired. That's the beauty of your brain.
But and the thing is, you need fear as well. Because
you can't just touch a hot plate. I mean, that's just not right.
No, but it gives you that drive and determination and the ambition. It's all, there's positives out of it all. But isn't it a wonderful place when you're around the right people? And we talk about this quite a lot, but just dumbing it down, being around you guys and being around other people that are just smiling, happy, authentic themselves, and always positive. It's brilliant to be around it. Friends, people that you have, even if you're not in business, just those friends that you hang around with, the ones that, pick you up, the ones that have always got a giggle in them, the ones that have a laugh. It's brilliant to be. You can't pinpoint it exactly, but it's good. And there was a question that Simon Sinek actually, Sinek,
yeah.
he actually asked, if you go to your friend and ask them why you're their friend and why they're your friend, wait for the answer. And it's very interesting because it'll all come about how you make them feel.
It's definitely a feeling. Definitely a
It's
feeling.
always a feeling. Why are you my friend? Out of all the things that I know, but yeah, because you do things to me and we do this and that, and I get that. But why are you my friend? Tell me. And it comes down to how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dragging it back to a question for you, Wicus.
Michael.
Hard work or talent?
Oh, why?
What brings success?
Talent is 1%. Talent is 1%. Hard work doesn't necessarily equate to success. I know people that work really, really hard throughout their lives that's still stuck at the same position. So talent is 1% of whatever you need to get. Hard work is about showing the initiative. Okay, so you can work hard. Johnny said it, you can work smart. But if you're working hard, show the initiative. Show that you take that business the same, you take care of that business, it is the same as yours, and do it without expecting reward. Do it without expecting any reward. Do it like you own the business. Work like you're the business owner. Because you know what happens is it's not for you. It's definitely not for the business owner. It's for you. It's your own sense of pride. Go over and above. Don't expect to be rewarded and recognized. But a good business owner will pick that up straight away and go, I've got something here, something that I need to nurture. So talent is 1%. Talent is definitely 1%. The other 99% is your hard work. And it's about you going the extra mile without expecting anything. Because what you really want is, what people want is, they want to be rewarded and recognized before they put in the effort. Before they put in any effort, they go, you show me the money and then I'll show you the effort. Why not flip it on his head? Why don't you show the people the effort and you do it for yourself? Personal sense of accomplishment. And then see. And if you do it for a consistent period of time and you're not being recognized or rewarded, then you move on to another job, because there will be somebody that sees you. Because very often people are blind to what you're doing. There might be a micromanager sitting there, not wanting, taking credit for your ideas, taking credit for your productivity. That's okay. You know what? Don't jump onto that thing that life is unfair. These guys are doing it. Do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself. Go above and beyond. You know, if your working day stops at 5 o'clock and you still got that last email to do, stay till 5:15, 5:20. I promise you it gets noticed. If you've got the right person sitting as your manager. And if you do that consistently, don't just do it for a week. Right. Do it consistently for 6 months, a year. And if you don't get noticed and you don't get rewarded, you're wasting your talents. Then move on, because there will be businesses that will reward you and recognize you for that and move you along that chain. But we expect the opposite. We expect to be rewarded and recognized before we put in any effort. Those days have come and gone. Things are very, very difficult. So people are looking for that good caliber candidate. And the only way you can do it is yourself. Okay? Talent, raw talent is 1%. 1% is raw talent. The other 99% is about going above and beyond of what is required of you. And you do that for yourself, not for anybody else. And if you can get that right, you'll fly. Promise you, you'll fly. And how do I know that? I see it in my son. Okay, he works, and then he goes above and beyond, and he gets rewarded and recognized, because else they've recognized they've got somebody here that'll go above and beyond. And if they don't lose him, so what do they like? What does he like? He likes to go traveling. So they go, you know what? You can go travel the world. You'll stay with us. Mm-hmm. They give him vouchers for his birthday. They've increased his pay twice. Okay. Now, there is an argument to say that he's learned that. Yeah, that is probably a learned behavior. But he needed to show them the effort first before they would reward him.
Yep.
So for anybody that's working just now, an entrepreneur, leader, or even an employee that's wanting to go to the next level, don't expect you're getting to the next level until you actually decide to put that extra little bit of effort in, because it does get rewarded in the right places. But I don't know if I've known this all my life, but now, because we're doing a lot of preaching here from a position where we know quite a lot. Maybe it's because we went through some hardships, or we've got a desire, a passion to get better and become better. But it's really, really fucking easy.
I've lived it, so I can sit on the other side.
same.
As an employee, one of my very good mentors said to me, "You suffer from shareholders mentality." He goes, "Because you look after this business like you're a shareholder." And they fast track because they recognize people like that, and they are few and far between. So it's not just me preaching. I've lived it, but I didn't expect to be rewarded and recognized for it. But you know what happens? The reward and recognition were way beyond of what I could have thought of. But I did it for myself to prove a point that I am, and it's for me personally, living that. And again, we go back to earlier on. It's a choice. I made the Tyler Perry choice. I chose it. I chose that.
I suppose you could also make it as simple as you can choose to be good or you can choose to be bad. You can choose to have compassion. You can choose to have kindness. And that either one of them will pay off to a certain point. And I think kindness, karma, whatever you want to call it, being good, and I've learned over a period of time, just give. And I know it might sound a bit cheesy, but what I mean by give people your time, be kind, and I am a kind person, but give as much as you can because it will come back to you. It generally will come back to you.
I think that you say such a true thing there is we live in an age of instant gratification. We want everything now. When you invest money, do you invest it for today or 5 or 10 years' time? Are you prepared to make the investment in yourself to be better now or later? I recently met somebody she's made the investment in herself. She's studying part-time. She's paying for it herself because she wants to be better. And I admire that.
Yeah.
Because she's wasted at her current employer. I can see it because they're not rewarding her. They're not recognizing her, but she's recognized that. And she's doing that out of her own. She'll never badmouth him. She'll go, yeah, it's difficult, but I need to be better. And if we have more attitudes like that, and you know what I say, attitude is everything.
It is indeed. So what would be a takeaway for today then?
Well, I think we should be asking our listeners to go above and beyond. And like, share and subscribe.
That would be absolutely phenomenal because it's the little things they do that helps us.
Correct. So if you haven't, like, share, subscribe.
Tell your friends about us. Just a little thing that I would say is tell your friends about us. Tell anybody about us. Just say, listen, if you tag 5 friends or nominate 5 friends, that'll help us a huge amount. Because when is the last time we've actually asked for help? To our listeners and subscribers, can you help us? 99% of people will help you. You just need to ask. So this is our ask.
It is our ask.
Good
and
stuff.
How do we finish that?
We finish it with that.
This is your world.
Shape it.
Or someone else will.